Hello, my name's Patrick Sharry. Yesterday I facilitated the third meeting of the advisory committees and supporting organisations that provide ICANN with input for its policy work. Around a table set in the corner of the room, we had 15 people representing each of the supporting organisations and advisory committees. They range from the chairs of these organisations to the participants who often do a lot of the hard work. The focus for our session was how do we improve our institutional framework? How do we make the most of the supporting organisations and advisory committees and the work that they do? The first part of the session really focused on the frustration that many people feel with the system and the way that it works at the moment. In particular, people were very concerned about workload and the enormous amount of work that individuals need to do to stay up to date with the policy issues that are on the table. This same concern was felt by everyone from all of the different supporting organisations and advisory committees, the chairs, committee members, ordinary volunteers, but also the staff. Around the table we had Doug Brent, who's the Chief Operating Officer, who was able to provide a staff perspective on this. And it was surprising in one sense that that same level of frustration was felt everywhere. In addition to the frustration with the amount of work that needs to be done, there was also a frustration with the way that people have visibility of how their input is used in the decision-making process. Particular concern here was what someone phrased as the last mile of the decision process, that is when decisions come to the board. Many felt there was a need for greater transparency there, and there was general recognition that all through the policy process, we need to find ways of making sure that the hard work of volunteers is recognised in the decision process and people feel that they have been listened to and that the input they've provided has actually been considered. One of the other things that's driving this sense of frustration is a lack of clarity of purpose and a lack of clarity about roles and responsibilities from people in the supporting organisations and advisory committees, from the staff and from the board. ICANN has been in existence for about 10 years, and over time these processes have evolved. There's been one large period of reform in about 2002, and since that time the change has been incremental. There's more work going on at the moment through the reviews that are happening of these supporting organisations and advisory committees, and this is being pulled together at the moment, and it provides, if you like, a chance to review some of these things together. While people did acknowledge that there was a high level of frustration, there was also an awareness that an enormous amount of good work was done, and people were complimentary of the work done by volunteers and of the work done by staff. In the end, the problem that this frustration is a symptom of means that as the organisation grows, as it tackles more difficult issues, as it globalises and internationalises, as we expect through IDNs and new TLDs, the processes we have at the moment are probably not scalable. We can't keep expanding the amount of work we do because we don't have the volunteers to do it. And as Doug Brent mentioned, even if we were to double the amount of staff, in effect that wouldn't halve the amount of work, it would double it, because staff would produce more papers, there'd be more documents and more to read. So, the second part of the session focused on what we could do about these problems. The solution that came at the top of people's list was we actually need to prioritise what we do. So rather than just take on all the work that it might be possible for us to do, as a community, we should sit down and think about how we might actually prioritise these and then look at what the capacity is that we have and rule a line under what we think is a reasonable workload for the community, rather than trying to tackle everything and perhaps not doing it as well as we might. Another way of working towards a solution will actually be to change the way that we develop policy. At the moment, there is a process going on to review the policy development process that happens within the generic name supporting organisation, and people felt that this could actually be expanded to include all of ICANN's policy making processes. That means that perhaps rather than inviting people in later in the process, we should think about a scoping process that involves all of the supporting organisations and advisory committees at the beginning and really lets us work hard at that scoping and framing part of the process, which would actually set us up much better for success further down, rather than working along and finding out at the last minute that there was a problem brought up by some other part of the organisation. So that might be another possible solution. The next thing that needs to be done as part of this working towards a solution is actually to work to clarify purpose, roles and responsibilities of the board, the staff and the volunteers so that everyone is clear about what their role is in the process, what they're responsible for and how everyone can work together to achieve the sort of outcomes that we're all looking for. In the end, there was a sense that there was a lot of positive things that we could do. We could use vehicles that were already in place, such as the strategic planning process, which is starting at the moment, and the work that's going on to revise the policy development process to move these issues forward. In addition, we should consider the work that's being done in improving institutional confidence because that also provides another platform for looking at this whole of organisation approach. So, we had a lot of frustration at the start, some possible solutions, and then a sense that perhaps we were lucky to be in the position where we were frustrated, where we had a forum to talk about these sort of things because it indicated that there is a way of moving forward together and that this frustration really, rather than being a negative, should be seen as a positive energy that will let the organisation tackle these issues, move forward constructively together. Thank you.